I think it would be very foolish for somebody to have a loved one pass away and you not talk to a lawyer. I think it'd be very foolish. First of all, without having a trust, life is a lot worse because now you're going through the probate court. We're having higher fees. We're having more delays. We're having more time constraints. We're dealing with creditors. But certainly a trust can save all of that. And there again, we have lots of articles and lots of discussion on why do I need a trust. But now let's go to you have a trust and your wife dies or your husband dies. Do I need a lawyer then? Or, my accountant told me that he can handle it for me, or my financial advisor says he can handle it. What's the lawyer really going to do? What we call trust administration is when somebody has a trust in place and then a loved one's passed away, and how do we administer that trust? That's something special about Dana Whiting law. Some lawyers just set up estate plans, but they don't administer them. We've always done both sides, the planning side and the death side, and I don't think I think you're a much better estate planner if you deal with the administration side and see some of the pitfalls. The first thing you need to look at, how are all the assets titled? We always talk about different buckets of assets. The trust can only control that bucket of assets where things are titled into the trust. IRAs are controlled by beneficiary designations. Life insurance are controlled by beneficiary designations. Some assets are in joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Some assets might just be in the decedent's name. And one thing that always makes this complicated is how are the things titled? Are there beneficiaries? And so the first thing we do in a trust administration process is we inventory the estate and we put it in these different buckets of assets to find out how it's going to pass. For example, if I had a life insurance policy, just as maybe a bad example, and I named my girlfriend the beneficiary of that life insurance policy, but I had a trust and I named my wife the beneficiary, who's going to get that life insurance policy? Does the trust trump the life insurance? Does the life insurance trump the trust? That's all the process that we go through as we inventory those assets. Clients are always surprised that there's something out there that should have been in the trust that wasn't. And we want to capture those right out of the gate when somebody dies. We don't want to discover that 5 years later when mom goes to sell the house and find out, oh my gosh, it wasn't in the trust. So inventorying the estate, big part of it. There's some big tax reasons, as we talk about with our clients. When somebody dies, we get a step up in cost basis. As we all know, when we buy an asset, that's our cost base. If we subsequently sell that asset, anything above the base is a capital gain and taxed as a capital gain. What a lot of people don't know is when somebody dies, capital gains are forgiven. They're wiped out. And the way that works is we have everything appraised or everything inventoried, and the date of death value of that asset now becomes the cost base. If you had a share of stock that you bought for $100 a share, and on the date of dad's death it's $200 a share, that 200 now becomes your base. What about all the confusing options on IRAs? And is the beneficiary the spouse or a children? And when can I do a rollover of an IRA? If I do a rollover, what are the required distributions my wife has to take? And when do those distributions start? And how much are they? And what's the penalty if I don't take that distribution? What about life insurance? A lot of times the life insurance wants to keep that money and just give you a checkbook to write checks against it. Are you better off to take the life insurance and wrap it into your financial portfolio, or are you better off to leave it with the insurance company? What about creditor claims? What about disputes, and especially over tangible personal property? I mean, we see more fights over who's going to get the water dipper than who's getting the house, and these things that have sentimental values. How do you do that? All these things go into trust administration, and there's a lot of things that the lawyer may get you to think about that you haven't thought about. Now, some of that stuff with the lawyer's direction, maybe you can go out and do by yourself, and some of it you're going to need the lawyer to do it. But I'd certainly I think, like back to what I started from, anybody that passes away, and if there's a trust involved, I think you need to sit down with a good estate planning lawyer